Hi everyone. Before I go off to sleep, I just want to make a really random video. It's not like a really organized one, just like some random thoughts I was thinking because um, this is like, yeah, just me thinking it through, and then I realized, oh, there's one thing that I wanted to sort of say, and y'all probably realize that one thing that I used to do this tarot reading for a while, and I mean, I'm not saying anything bad or good about it. In general, the thing was, it was just a phase of my life. I kind of like got into it, and then I realized that in the midst of it, some of the things that were experienced back then, they were actually quite misleading. Okay, I don't necessarily mean it in a good or bad way. Just that it was just misleading because of the messages being kind of like disseminated in the tarot card readings. And the thing is this, uh, I at one point, I was using to do things like, shadow work is not necessarily something spiritual, unlike what people think it is. Okay, it's actually a way to actually assess the deeper resources of your subconscious, which we repress and suppress because of some kind of like a things like shame or fear or social conditioning. And using at that point in time, what I did was to try to use the tarot, just pick up randomly and say, okay, what does it say about my state of mind and my whole shadow, and everything. And of course, like, those people who are really superstitious or don't even know what shadow work is will think that I'm talking to a demon or something like that, which is not the case. Okay, but what I want to say is that that there are times when you are relying on this kind of things, and you realize that my friend always say this thing. He used to be actually in the New Age shop, yeah, New Age movement, and he operated this Hong Kong friend. He told me that, what's the thing with Kevin, with you and anyone else, when we try, or just basically anyone, he said, when y'all try to find your meaning in something else, you want a message, but you just go and find it somewhere else. And this friend is not even religious or Christian. He doesn't really believe in anything. Okay, I mean, of course, he has had spiritual experiences, but I don't think now he's at any particular religious affiliation or whatever. But he said, what is the point with trying to trust all this? And he said, you know what? He said, Kevin, because he knew that I was a bit more on the religious side and spiritual side. He said, the best kind of future that you want, okay, instead of just like seeking all these oracles, all these psychics, all this stuff, is the kind of future you create. Okay, so yeah, I think that's the one thing about all this. And to go back to what I was trying to say, okay, about consulting psychics and seers and all this, this probably has been a message that has been given by many other people. Okay, and I also made a video prior to this, two videos in fact, two or three videos about the dangers of like or misleading effects of just trying to find psychics or doing psychic readings. Because the thing is this, once you walk out the doorstep from a psychic reading, or even after you finish your own reading for yourself, anything can change. Okay, this is the way of the world. And if we were to just lock ourselves into one particular card or a set of cards that we choose, how reductive would this whole experience of life be? Okay, and I don't believe in a lot of like this whole thing about the psychics who say that, oh, I can read your character, I can read you or whatever. It's like, a lot of these are just mentalists. Mentalists are not psychics. They are people who are trained to read you for your body language, your mannerisms, the way you speak, and as a result of that, they tend to they are very astute in recognizing certain things about us, our strengths and weaknesses. So, but of course, there's always an element of manipulation, and that's the problem. They can manipulate you. And what about psychics? One more a lot about all these alleged psychics. Some of them are not even like, they don't even really have a gift. Okay, not all, but the one thing is this: why do you want to let someone or someone else dictate your life and how you can go? I don't recommend it. So, and the thing is this, the thing is, how would it feel you were to just like invest your resources in someone else instead of yourself? I don't think you want that, right? I mean, this is like investing. Like we invested our lives on narcissists in the past. Okay, we want to recover, but in trying to recover, we go to someone who's not qualified. Okay, I mean, in any case, it's much better to actually go to a counselor or psychologist or psychiatrist, okay, about all this. And even finding a spiritual director like a priest or someone who is trained in the area of counseling is much better. Okay, unfortunately, not many are trained, so that's a problem again. So yeah, don't go and find yourselves in all these cards and all these psychics. They can really lead you into a rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole might not be something that you really want to get involved in. I realized that for a few years when I was trying it, and then the whole thing was I might have really said something once. That whole thing about this card. This is card in the major arcana. There's major and there's major arcana. There's also minor arcana. Okay, I don't want to speculate on the different kinds. It's just a big all this terminology and everything. But the major arcana are all this this major symbols. And one of the cards that I thought that my friends used to say, Kevin, why do you always keep on getting certain cards, and some of the cards that you get, they seem to be so uncanny. I said, yeah, that's the point. I don't know what I'm doing. Is it my subconscious, my so-called higher self, or is it some other spirit? I don't want to dabble with that. But that said, the whole thing was this. Without speculating on the source or whatever, the thing was this. The Tower card was actually a card that actually, I remember I even have a sketch on that particular card. Okay, I'm not trying to scare anyone. The Tower card was actually something that I got when I was in the middle of a so-called narcissistic situationship, and that was in the end of 2015. And at that point in time, I wasn't really sure what it meant, because the idea of the Tower card, I just thought it was just like a change of certain things in my life, change of attitude. But actually, if you look deeper, the Tower card in the tarot system is about a total change. There's a crumbling. The tower collapses or is struck by, in some extreme cases, you see some depictions, is struck by lightning. Okay, so it leads people to have to you jump out or to try to take a leap of faith. So hopefully they will fall down. When they fall down, they fall out of the tower or jump out. They don't end up falling to their deaths. They can fall somewhere to maybe into the ocean, or there's some cushioning or whatever somewhere like a plants or bushes. I mean, that's the kind of thing. But it can be quite devastating if you think about it. And I mean, the Tower card is not the death card, but the thing is this: it represents a crumbling of worldview. I didn't realize it then, but I say, oh wow, that was a crumbling of the worldview that I had. Like narcissistic abuse really creates the whole thing, and it was so uncanny because it really came true. And when it happened, the abuse, the discard, which was only like 3 months later on in 2016, when it happened, it proved to be really, that you have only 3 months or 3 4 months of all this so-called abuse and all this manipulation, but the effects take years to heal, okay, to recover from it, and it's not worth it. Okay, I always say it's not worth it. Okay, so one thing, just lay off all this stuff. Okay, lay off all this spiritual stuff. The spiritualist, not spiritual stuff. We need our spirituality, but lay off the whole thing about trying to get some other unidentified spiritual source, okay, to tell you how you are supposed to lead your life. Okay, that one thing, if even if it's just saying within a religion, there's nothing wrong, because I'm a Christian myself. I'd rather that we try to is it better to find God instead of just trying to find all these unidentified sources. And at the end of it, I was just telling God, especially after there was one tower moment, okay, narcissistic abuse. But what's the other moment when it comes to crumbling? The next moment was I didn't get the card for that, but I realized that this whole thing keeps on repeating, the whole idea of a tower moment. When my grandmother passed away, okay, that was a real tower moment. Okay, I don't know how to explain it. I wasn't using the cards for years already before that, like maybe from 2020 onwards until 2022. When she passed, I wasn't using it anymore. Yeah, basically I just too busy with stuff and life. But then I realized that after this, in my attempt to find some means to comfort my grief, to know how to handle it, I went back to this deck called the Ludy Lescott, Ludy. Lescot. Ludi Lescot is a quite interesting one because in the box, the front is the Egyptian ankh. Okay, the ankh is the it's like a cross, but instead of that pole on top, it's the hoop. Okay, so it's like it's used by pharaohs and priests to represent life, but Egyptian Coptic Christianity has used it in place of the as a form of the cross. Okay, to represent regeneration. Okay, the resurrection. Because as you all remember, like Osiris was the first mummy came to life, but in the case of Christ, Jesus Christ, he's not the first mummy. Okay, he literally resurrected. There was no need to embalm him, whatever. Okay, unlike the Egyptian myths. And the thing was this one thing, the ankh is on one cover, one side of the box, okay, that contains the cards. The other side was actually the Chinese character for death, okay, which is like 死, okay, it means death. And the whole thing about enlightenment, life, regeneration, and death on the other side, that was supposedly a so-called powerful deck. I give it away to a friend because I don't want to dabble with any kind of unnecessary things. Like this stage is just not really good for me, and nothing like evil or good, whatever. Just it's just not personally something that I want to do with now. I went to that whole thing, but I realized, so this was like a tower moment for me when my grandmother passed. And that was the one thing I had to say. I hate to say it because I've been telling everyone. The thing was that the night before my grandmother passed, each one in my family, we saw different things. Like my sisters, my younger sister, me, we saw different things. And it's like my younger sister is not a Christian, but I was a Christian. I saw something about praying. Hers was a dream. And I told a Christian friend from not Pentecostal or non-denominational charismatic background. He said, it's so interesting. How come everyone in your family, like you, not everyone, but you and your sisters, you had the same kind of message through that sign or whatever you saw? I said, I don't know. I just knew that it was like maybe it was a way of like letting us know indirectly that my grandmother's time was up. She needed to really see God. So and yeah, she had to face a particular judgment, but I'm praying for that. That when the whole thing is, I don't want to really explain any like theological things about what is the fate of the soul. We have this thing in the Orthodox Church. There are a few things. It's not really consistent in the sense that we have a few takes on the whole idea of what happens to the soul after death. But I wasn't really Orthodox before that, but because I always hear things like directly the Protestant idea, the evangelical idea is that after that you either go to heaven or hell. It's not really true, okay. And then for those who are like Catholics, it's almost the same thing. Except, and then maybe in between there's an intermediary state which is called purgatory for those who are going to go to heaven to purge your sins. But it's not really there in Orthodoxy. But we have something like an intermediary state. It's a little bit different. The intermediary state is either a reflection of your doom in the next life or your bliss. Okay, so it's not the same thing as heaven and hell, and it's a very different thing because obviously at that point in time your resurrection has not happened. So yeah, that was what I think the thing was. I saw was about a so-called particular judgment of the soul that my granny had to go through. But that's it. I'm not gonna like do any preaching because it's not my point. The point was this. I realized that the so-called tower moment that I had was like I had it twice in my life, and I'm not really going to get involved in any. I don't want this rehash again because tower moments are very they're very disorientating. Things crumble, and when they crumble, the prior worldview you had, they're not sustainable anymore. Okay, so the whole thing is utter narcissistic views. That tower moment was a realization. Not everyone is really good. Some people are just evil. They're downright evil. Okay, and that was a really hard lesson to stomach. But the second one was basically the whole thing when my years after narcissistic views, about 6 years after that, when my grandmother passed. It was a realization that that thing is the Protestant worldviews, the worldviews of the whole idea of a so-called God who is out to judge you and punish you. It's like it's not sustainable anymore. It was not really something that I could really stand, or that I could really hold on to anymore, because the idea of God as judge, just mere anger, punishment, judgment doesn't seem to align. It doesn't really align with the whole thing with the Bible when He says God is love. So what exactly is like? Does He like, the whole thing when even like the Christian view is I mean at least the Orthodox Christian view even is there in, let's say, the Assyrian Church tradition, the Oriental Orthodox, or even in the Eastern Orthodox. These three traditions, we always have the idea that God is love. And if it's God is love, how can He just create hell to just and before time send people decide who is going to go to hell just like that? It doesn't make sense. Okay, and so that Protestant view of, like, God having decided before, Protestant or Calvinist view of God having sent people beforehand is just like crazy, and yeah, the whole thing crumbled. Okay, but it was good because I mean I was really questioning it way before that. Even my time in Canada, I was questioning. I just didn't know how to find a means to question it, and then when that happened, it really crumbled, and I didn't realize that maybe this is another aspect of that so-called tower moment. Tower moments are really, really disorientating. I pray that no one ever go through that again. Okay, I hope no one goes through it, because these tower moments are really, really disorientating. And especially a few days ago on Labor Day, that actually even before Labor Day, I had one person who knew my experience with that narcissistic abuse, that so-called situationship or relationship. There was actually a female trainer in the gym. She witnessed me break down many years ago. So she didn't really know what happened, but she said that she saw that I was very distraught. So, and then she said at that point in time, I was very so distraught that she didn't want to ask me what's going on, because I went to find a friend to talk about it with that one friend who was also a gym staff, or like that. Not really a trainer, but gym staff. And that friend now is a gym trainer somewhere else. Yeah, in was it like, I think YouFit or something. Yeah, I don't know which gym, but she's doing quite well actually. And the one thing was this friend, the other friend who's a trainer. I mean, now she's a friend, but now last time she was just more like someone I just kind of informally knew. She actually had there was something that, I mean, in a few years in between, she had a business partner who was also her actually a lesbian partner. Yeah, she's lesbian, but I think lesbian or bisexual, I'm not sure. But and it just happened recently, a few weeks, 1 or 2 weeks before. It seemed that her partner was the stage 4 cancer that her partner was diagnosed with. Basically got into the final stages, so she was like, her partner was losing coherence, and yeah, there was no point there, and nothing would in medical science could ever just bring her back to a state of health. And I told her, I just told that friend of mine, say, you know what, because that friend of mine came from a Catholic background, although she hasn't attended church, and her mother knows about the thing. I don't know about her father, but her mother was like, her family seems quite okay from what it looks. So I mean, I don't want to judge people, and none of us should ever judge anyone, because I think that it was from the way I saw it, it looked like a relatively healthy relationship. And I mean, whatever it is, I think that this is between them and God. They had to be judged ultimately, or God, they had to face God. So, but the thing is this: whether or not they know God is a different thing. But I just told that friend of mine, you know what? I'm praying. I'll be praying for your. That was before her partner passed on Labor Day, which is 1st of May. I'll be praying for her. Okay. I didn't say I'm praying for her to recover, because I didn't know what's going on in terms of like how bad it was. But I just said I'll pray for her for well-being. Okay. For spiritual, for soul, or whatever, and also pray for you. Okay. So just remember that. Okay. And then the day before, 31st of April, I just said something. 30th of April, not 31st, 30th. I just told her, Alison, I just prayed. It was in the afternoon. No, I should say her name. But I just told her, okay, just let's say, I said I pray for you and your partner. Okay. I don't really pretend to judge anyone for what they do, okay, their life, but I just pray for their well-being. And you keep on praying, okay? So for her, whatever. And that friend of mine who's like came from Catholic background, he said, okay, I'll be pray. But of course, just on first May she just passed. So I kind of like, that made that moment when the news came and she broke up. I knew that she was very devastated. So I didn't want to say anything, and I knew that it was right for me not to say anything. So now I think their funeral is tomorrow. I mean, for the funeral of that partner of hers, and I have no idea about the thing. I shouldn't be asking because it's not good for me to ask when she's grieving. But I think the good thing is to just pray for her. And one thing is this. I know that there are a lot of things like people say, you know what, LGBT people don't deserve love, whatever. But she no, she deserves love. Okay, I mean, regardless from God and whatever. And I don't think God is gonna like just hold it against her or her partner just because they were, doing all this kind of stuff. They were together in a relationship, whatever. But it's ultimately between them and God. Okay, so but what do we do as Christians? The thing was this. I realized that the whole thing is I realized this is my way of like life as a person. Because none of us are perfect. Okay, and we always fall short. But the idea that there's a God who is love, can make me do things to be kind to people. And I don't say I know exactly, so I can't judge anyone. And I do wish, of course, that for her partner who has just passed, I do pray for her partner's soul. So I'll just just continue to pray for her partner's soul. uh, yeah, we pray for the souls of the departed, even as Orthodox Christians. But even regardless of whether the person was a Christian, we still pray for them. Okay, and of course, I mean, if the person is a Christian, then obviously there's a service to commemorate them, like and everything. But if you're not, we still, yeah, okay. But that the whole tower moment was I kind of realized, oh, that was the whole thing. Just made me realize everyone has a tower moment. We end up, some of us just end up experiencing it earlier. Some of us is like that moment can be very protracted, can be dragged out over a long while. So I hope no one ever has to go through like the way I went through it. It was dragged out over a long time. Okay, over years. It wasn't one moment alone and just instantaneous. It was like broke the whole thing, and then the whole thing is like, wow, when it happens, it just, yeah. Okay, so anyway, this is a random rant. Okay, I gotta go and sleep because this is really late. It's not healthy for me to keep on doing this. Okay, so have a good one, everyone. Okay, bye bye.